let's talk about how Hakeem was a bad hoe in his summer. You know, he made $1 million. He tried to be a, what is it called? Hot girl summer.
Oh yeah. Okay, we're gonna get into that in a second. All right, we got to start. So we have left Houston, sort of. We left Houston College, and now we are entering the 1984 NBA draft, the famous 1984 NBA draft, where Hakeem Olajuwon is, by all accounts, the number 1 overall pick. Basically consensus. Which is crazy. Like, we talked about it in Jordan's legacy breakdown. Nobody had Jordan going number 1. At best, they had him 2. It was, even though Hakeem was such a raw talent, and this is the part that it's interesting to me now that we've looked at Hakeem's college career, he was, in comparison to Jordan, I would have taken Jordan. And even at that moment, like, I would have taken Jordan. Because, like, he's more polished.
And the ascension. Yeah.
Yeah. He's more polished. Hakeem has shown that he has shriveled up in big moments. Like,
Jordan literally hit, like, a game winner in the biggest moment of,
this is
like,
what I'm
college
saying.
Basketball. Like
if you're if you're a guy in the 80s, I don't know how Hakeem is just so the consensus number 1 pick. So looking at it in this moment. But it is.
And it's crazy because you're saying that he's consensus, but, you know, we're about to get to it in the notes, but it doesn't seem like Houston had him as consensus, right?
Which is, well, we're gonna get into that after he gets picked.
One of my notes in the notes was, we always talk about how, you know, the Rockets picking Hakeem never was a big deal, like looking back at it. But then it almost seems like Houston, it was a big deal. You know what I mean? Especially with some of the former players, stuff like that. But let's get into it, and then we can really unpack it.
So, New York Times going to write, when David Stern, the commissioner of the National Basketball Association, calls for Houston to make the first choice in Tuesday's college draft at Madison Square Garden.
Soho.
Okay, at Madison Square Garden's fell for him. Houston GM Ray Patterson will make official what most everyone has known for a long time. Houston selects Hakeem Olajuwon of the University of Houston. That's a lot of just saying Houston in one sentence. Really overwhelming. But with the first selection for the second straight year, the Rockets are planning to pick the Nigerian-born Olajuwon, the nation's leading rebounder last season. Now, I want to stop there for a second, because the Rockets were the worst team in the league last year with a 14-68 record and picked Ralph Sampson. Then they improved with Sampson, but still had the worst record, 29-53 in the West. Sounds like the process. Yeah. Sounds like a really early version of the process to me.
Yeah. And they doubled their record, like their wins. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, like they just won a couple. Like, it literally doubled, or I think a little more than doubled, right? It went from 14 wins to 29.
14 to 29. Yeah.
That definitely sounds like the process, though.
They reminded me, when I read that, I was like, man, it sounds like they traded Moses Malone, and they're like, fuck it, we're going to try and get, we're going to stockpile as many young kids as we can.
And beating Olajuwon have a little bit more in common than we think, then.
Yeah, right? This is so ridiculous. Crazy, right? The Houston GM is going to be quoted as saying, the last two drafts have brought 2 things to this franchise, Patterson said. Credibility and an opportunity to be among the 4 to 6 best teams in the NBA and stay there. That's the goal. So it's literally fucking the Sam Hinkie. We're going to try and lose as much as possible and stockpile this talent. And it's interesting, especially because Ralph Sampson just won Rookie of the Year for them, and as their 7'4" center. And choosing Hakeem, they're going to slide a 7'4" guy to power forward for a 6'10"-ish, 6'11"
center. 7 foot.
They say he's 7 foot. Like, if I look on his basketball reference, it's 7 feet tall, but doesn't, like, especially when you see him stand next to Ralph Sampson, it's a significant, and it'll be on your screen now.
But 4 inches though, like that's huge. Like, think about a 6 footer next to, I mean, it's the same thing. 6 footer is next to a 6'4" dude. Like, it's kind of like, think about who's 6 foot. I'm thinking like Tony Park. No, Tony Park is like 5'11".
No, he's
still like 5'11".
No, he's not. He's like 6'3", Tony Parker.
Is he really?
5'11". Yeah,
I'm
dude.
thinking,
the NBA just warps your mind's view of what height is.
I get thrown out. I'm thinking
Steve Nash is 6'4".
AI is 6 foot.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
Or supposedly 6 foot. And
So this
think
is
of
another
him
good
next
example.
to Wade.
Supposedly.
Yeah, but and think of him next to Wade. Like, Wade is like a decent size bigger than AI.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same thing with just 7 footers, so they look like fucking Andre the Giant.
If we, yeah, exactly. But I think Hakeem was probably closer to 6'11" than 7 feet. But that's
right.
you can't look. They lie about their age all the time. They or not their age, but their.
I mean, they might, especially no offense, but like people from different countries, they lie about their age all the time. One of my good friends.
We just got done in his college thing talking about his brother being 7'5". So clearly he's not against lying to people about things like this.
Facts. And Ice, don't come after us. But my friend, one of my good friends, we were in the same grade, and I swear to God, this guy was like a grown man. There's no way that we were like the same age at all. Like, he had, like, if you looked at his hands, it looked like he punched brick like every single day of his life, like that. And he was supposedly 7 years old. I said, there's no way. You're like 14, bro. Like, it's like, you know, both languages. Like, you
have double the experience of us. There's no way it's any other way. You have double the life experience. But anyways, there was a little bit of controversy with Hakeem getting signed. He really wanted at least $5.4 million, like Ralph Sampson got. That was like a very minor thing that lasted for about a month. But then they inevitably sign him. The signing, whose financial terms were not disclosed but were believed to be as high as $6.3 million, followed negotiations between Hakeem's agent and Rocket officials that have been reported as tough. So,
and this is crazy because this is never spoken about. Like, to me, this should, like, when you're talking about Hakeem's legacy, how the hell is it not talked about that the Rockets were making a big deal about giving him the $5 million?
True.
Like, that should be talked about. Like, I feel like it's like this is all getting swept under the rug because most people say Hakeem got drafted and no one questioned it. But it seems like, just off of that, we're not even getting into the nitty gritty. But it seems like Houston was extremely hesitant to pay him and questioning it. I mean, it seems like they were hesitant on both their guys too, which is the crazy part to me.
It's crazy, but also, like, when you think about where they've been the last few years, does it shock you that a team that's last in the league for the last 2 years running is not exactly consistent as a business up front? Like, it doesn't shock me.
No, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
When you look at it like that,
but it's also like typically when you're down that bad, you're more like of a dice roller, right? You're like, I mean, we've been at the shit end of the league for the last 2 years. The only place we could go is up, right?
Great example is what I'm about to say right here. So they obviously draft Olajuwon. We talked about that first overall. Putting Sampson and Olajuwon on the same front line was only part of the Houston Rockets' offseason strategy. The other big push was finding capable playmakers to get the ball to the Twin Towers. They already had this nickname, by the way, or whatever that's worth. I thought that was taking them a little bit to come up with the nickname, but
Twin Towers 7 footers. I mean,
it
makes sense.
Easy money.
Yeah,
but
and he's called the Dream already. That's insane. That's crazy to me too, because to me the Dream is like
the
all
90s
the shit
guy.
that he does. Yeah, like it makes sense that he's called the Dream in the 90s, right? Yeah,
but no. Going back to the point of being a team that gambles, a trade with San Antonio brought John Lucas, who overcame drug problems last season and finished 4th in the league in assists with 10.7.
Man, we just got a crackhead for 10.
Well, welcome to the 80s where you can have drug problems, which I think in the 80s means cocaine. I'm not trying to say he's definitely doing cocaine, but I feel like they would have said had issues with marijuana otherwise. But who the fuck knows?
No, marijuana was looked at as a bad drug in the 80s as well, though.
Do you think what is he gonna? I'm just curious. What is he gonna average this season? What is John Lucas gonna average this season for assists this year?
He better average like fucking 15.
Yeah, it drops to 6.8. So side note of a question. Side note question. How much did cocaine really help this guy? If he's putting up 10.7 assists with the cocaine, but as soon as his drug problems subside, now he's down to 6.8.
Yeah,
what an L by Houston.
You had to supply him with more cocaine. No doubt about it.
Yeah, they fucked up.
Yeah, like they were tweaking. Up, yeah. Or maybe they did. Maybe they switched the drug and it fucked them up.
Yeah, they should have just switched him to crack. That was the only logical solution.
Yeah.
Fucking A. That's crazy. But that's the league. That's the 80s. Like, we talked about the Chicago Bulls being the traveling cocaine circus, right? During Jordan's legacy breakdown, and then when he did The Last Dance, that was a big headline. So cocaine is still running pretty rampant in this NBA. It's a totally different league than what we see today that Hakeem is entering. They're going to start, well, before that, actually, I want to get to what you were talking about. They're doing preseason games and exhibition matchups with the Celtics, which is kind of interesting because the Celtics and the Rockets are going to have a date with destiny in the following season. But in late October. So Professor Robert Parish, the dour-faced center of the Boston Celtics, was presiding during a National Basketball Association exhibition game. The course, educating Hakeem and Ralph Sampson. The first two lessons had just been completed, and by most accounts, the prize pupils, Hakeem and Ralph, of the Houston Rockets, had failed miserably. This is how they went. So this is how I love this article. I love how
brutal they are, like with them. Like it's not the 80s is just goatness for this.
Lesson 1: blocking out on the offensive boards. It ended when Olajuwon, the Nigerian-born rookie center, who was listed at 7 feet tall, believed that his quickness alone would help him rebound the errant shot that was bouncing about above the rim. But just as he prepared to grab it, Parish, whom Olajuwon was supposed to be guarding, slipped in front of him, snared the ball from his grasp. You fucked me up. And scored easily.
Grab what, bro? Like, what are we grabbing on timeout? Like, what are we grabbing, man?
But that sounds like what happened to him in college with the play, right?
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was going to get to, I was letting you do your thing, but I just had to pause there real quick because they just grabbing what? Like, we got to, like, be a little bit more specific when we saying that they just grabbing shit, bro. But,
he's very obviously grabbing his junk in a game of basketball.
Yeah, clearly.
He is but all right, but I agree with you, Russell, that he literally just finished losing. Was that this year too?
No, it was the year, but it was his second year.
Yeah, but his biggest failure, right? Yeah. So far as a professional, college, right? Yeah, or like semi-pro, whatever.
Sure,
was not being a good rebounder. You would think that shit would be like, all right, going in the NBA, I'm gonna make sure that never happens to me again. And the very first exhibition game, you got an old dude schooling you.
He led the country in rebounding when he was in college. Was a great rebounder, but in these moments, this exact situation is how they lost the national championship. Exactly what Robert Parish did to him is exactly what happened to Hakeem. His awareness is just not there yet because he hasn't fucking played that long. Yeah. And if it was almost exposed or kind of exposed at the college level, in the NBA, this is what
be magnified.
Yeah, times 1,000, especially if he doesn't work hard. We're going to get into that. Lesson 2, the head fake, which will become known as the dream shake. Olajuwon led the nation in shot blocking last season at the University of Houston, and it appeared as if he had another one in his sights. Parish coiled, looking as if he was about to shoot, and Olajuwon sprang, reaching his left hand so far above the rim that it looked as if he would touch one of the 14 green and white championship banners hanging from the rafters. But there was no ball. Parish had calmly brought it down, dribbled to the hoop, and scored again. Yeah. Where was Ralph Sampson? He arrived just in time to foul Parish.
and it seems like it's like a double whammy, right? Because it's obviously Hakeem's youth, and in this actual sport, he's only been playing for 5 years. And then it's also Ralph Sampson learning a completely different position, which most people would think that going from center to power forward is not that big of a change. But in the 80s, it's huge because that position, those positions actually meant something in the 80s versus...
And very defined roles.
Yeah, and in 2020, 2023 doesn't mean shit. Like, it's positionless basketball. So that's why most people would think, why are you getting even confused at this point? But it's because they actually mean shit.
Yeah, I'm going to do a spiel on Ralph in a little bit, speaking of positionless basketball and how he would do in 2023. But lesson 3, the give and go. This lesson wasn't going to be any easier because it involved not only Parish, but also Larry Bird. The Boston center passed the ball lazily to his teammate, so much so, in fact, that Olajuwon thought he had a chance to steal it. He left Parish just for an instant, but in that time, Bird caught the pass and released it with one fluid motion. Sampson hardly had time to flinch and hit Parish with a precision bounce pass just as he reached the basket. The lesson ended with a crashing dunk. Thus began what will be the most talked about experiment of the 1984-85 season. Just 1 year after the Rockets made Sampson the number 1 selection in the 1983 draft and hailed him as the center of the 80s. The team has moved him to power forward and replaced him with Hakeem Olajuwon, an unpolished gem who was the world's tallest soccer goalie before someone stood on a chair in 1979 and showed him how to dunk. Jesus Christ. This is so crazy. Oh, man. If the events of the exhibition season are any indicator, this latest pairing of talented big men might be just as short-lived. In the middle, Olajuwon's skills and aggressiveness, his biggest asset, were stifled by his confusion. This is exactly what I was saying. He's so eager. He's so trying to, he's always the chump that falls for the pump. He's always the guy that's just too excited, just screams very inexperienced. You know what I mean? On offense, he was too mechanical, as might be expected of a man who's only played the game for 5 years. And on defense, he was outsmarted by veterans such as Parish and San Antonio's Artis Gilmore. But there is something in his favor. He is a quick learner, and the end of the regular season is a long time away. Hakeem will say, "When I watch the pros on TV, I used to think they look kind of slow." Olajuwon said after fouling out of one game against Parish. "Now I know they're not slow at all." And that's just the start of his struggles.
The writing in these reports and stuff are goated. I feel like we don't get this at all anymore.
No, we don't. We don't. Because
even just the story, telling the story. Yeah. Just telling the story is just awesome in these articles.
Your journalists. This is
no
one wants to read anymore.
Journalists. It's not about paying them. It's about the demand. Nobody reads anymore. Everybody just wants to hear it spoken to them or watch it on TV.
Tell them that economics, Lindsay. Talk to them about the economics. Supply and demand, motherfucker.
I'm happy to read it for you guys.
But you're one fucking person.
Yeah.
I'm giving you an audiobook right now, all right? Of the truth. I don't want to hear it. Fucking. All right?
So going into, what is this, an 84-85 summer? Right?
Yeah. So we're in the exhibitions. Talked about the exhibitions. So now we're... Olajuwon in the summer was... Go ahead.
Yeah. So Hakeem enters into his inner Meg Thee Stallion. And he didn't know, obviously this is like a foresight, man. He must have just known she was coming or whatever. And he got into his hot girl summer vibe. And he just, he got a Mercedes, a Benz, I don't even know what the hell he had. And he was just like, I'm driving in this all summer. I ain't practicing. I ain't doing none of that. I hope my teammates are okay with it.
This is the fucking report. It didn't help Olajuwon that he hardly played any basketball this summer after signing his multi-million-dollar contract. According to a former teammate at Houston, who returned to Houston and played several pickup games with current pros, Olajuwon was an irregular participant in the games at the Fonda Recreation Center. He drove around Houston in his new Mercedes, the player said, under the condition that he would not be identified. We told him, man, you better play, but he said, no way, I got to enjoy my success.
Yeah.
See this color of my jersey? See this jersey? This is color red. This is the biggest of red flags. Holy shit! This guy's gonna be one of the greatest players of his generation. And if I read this story in the time, I would have said he was gonna be a fucking bumzilla. Holy Jesus Christ!
100%.
Oh,
and imagine how much if like ESPN and like the 24-hour sportscast was a thing. Yeah, media cycle. They would have been shitting on him immediately.
Oh my god,
man, it's crazy,
insane.
Yeah, literally the first overall pick is saying, "I'm not even gonna play in the summer. Like, I'm good, I'm cool." And mind you, and like Houston is legitimately thinking, like, they obviously questioned paying him that salary. They also were like, and I think we might be getting into that, but they were questioned. They pretty much said, if Ralph Sampson was the guy, we probably would have picked Jordan.
Yep.
Right?
So the Rockets will only have to look back to draft day 1984 if their pairing of Sampson and Olajuwon flounders. For with the pick of collegiate crop at their disposal, they chose Olajuwon over the breathtaking Jordan. Houston could have had Jordan and started him alongside Sampson and second-year forward Rodney McRae, who was their best player during the exhibition season. It would have been the front court of the 80s.
Yeah.
This could still be the front court of the 80s, though. Just saying. Just saying. Hey,
and the crazy part is, like, everything going into this is like you said, red flags, right? But when you're looking at the core of the two players, you have a much more seasoned Jordan, right? Literally won a national championship. You got a guy who couldn't win the championship, and it was due to his own inabilities, right?
Yeah.
And then now it's like, all right, you're gonna pick this guy over Jordan because you don't trust your current center who you just messed up on the last year, or you might have felt like
who was the rookie of the year. He was great. Rookie of the year, 7'4", and we're going to talk about it. Totally ahead of his time. Light years ahead of his time. 21-11 with 2.5 blocks a game, shooting 52%, and you want another center.
Yeah. So, and then you choose not to pick the guy who's seasoned, everybody felt like was the best player in that draft, or most people did at least.
Especially after the Olympics.
Yeah, going into the summer, you got a guy that said, I'm not going to play basketball. And then you have a guy that said, I want to play basketball so much I'm going to go into the Olympics and completely dominate it. Yeah. So it's just, I think that's partially the reason the way the Rookie of the Year occurs in this season, which we're going to get to it. Happens the way it happens. I think that spotlight and the way that they're looking at these two players matters a lot going into this season.
True. Yeah, here's more on that. So there are those who believe that the Rockets missed a rare opportunity by not selecting Jordan. Among the most outspoken was the recently retired Elvin Hayes, who spent the final 3 seasons of his 16-year career in Houston. Elvin Hayes, All-Famer, legend, especially at this point, uber legend. I think the Rockets made a mistake, he said. Olajuwon's got a lot of talent, and it may be great for publicity, but I'm a realist, and I don't think it'll work. I would have taken Michael Jordan as fast as I could get the words out of my mouth. Instead, the Rockets selected a player who was strong in aggressiveness and raw skills, but weak fundamentally. Olajuwon's inexperience, along with the fact that he was reared in a nation where hardly anyone has heard of the NBA, has left him a sparse knowledge of the game and its history. On the court, that manifested itself early throughout the exhibition season. Olajuwon was mechanical offensively, and when the same moves that helped him average 17 points a game as a senior just didn't work against the stronger, more agile pros, he looked at times bewildered. Crazy. It really, like I said this during the college deal, this reminds me of Dirk Nowitzki and what happened with Dirk. And fundamentally, Dirk was way better than Hakeem is here, but it's just the bewilderment of coming into this new world of basketball where you're playing against the best of the best, period. Yeah. And you get exposed when that happens. We've seen it. We see it happen every year. Yep. There's guys.
And there's literally like
and get exposed.
There's damn near like a segment for every single person who's ever played in the NBA that says, "What is your welcome to the NBA moment?" Like everybody gets it because they know it's always like that. And then especially if you're not freaking training, like going into the season, you're not increasing your skills. Like you're already brand new to the game, and then you're saying, "All right, I'm not gonna practice," and then you're going against guys who's been playing at least half their lives most of the time.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I wouldn't have expected this from a guy who seems to understand or seemed to have understood the work that goes into this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was shocking to read this stuff.
It was talked about all throughout his college experience. He's still new to the game. He's learning. He's constantly growing. And then to know that and then thinking that you're going to go into the NBA for whatever reason and just dominate just doesn't make sense. Yeah. Like you didn't even, not for nothing, like he had a good college career, but it wasn't dominant. Like
I would agree with that statement. Exactly what they said. Raw athleticism and potential was there and potential is there. But man, looking back at the 84 draft, no one questions the Jordan pick today, but it makes a lot of sense to question. Like it really does.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like, I mean, obviously, it's really that 2020 hindsight now, right? Like when you look at it, you can't question someone who, the guy was the number one pick, but he also won you an MVP, two chips. He's one of the most, he's the top 5 center of all time. 2020 hindsight says that, but I think in this time frame, people were definitely questioning it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're reading.
Yeah, so we're literally reading it right now.
But no, having said all this, he's going to have a great first game.
I know, right?
He's going to play really well in his first game. Yeah. He's going to play really well. We say all of this,
and they make it such a big deal, exhibition games, and they go 8-0. Like,
yeah, but, and I've actually been looking forward to talk about this.
Yep.
They go 8-0, right? But let's look at this crackerjack group of fuckers that they go against to get this 8-0. Because I was like, when we were doing the research, I was like, oh, this is not, wow. They really proved some of the doubters wrong after reading all that. I was like, man, they're busting ass, right? So you got the Dallas Mavericks. Let's see. I'm going to get all the records of these people. The Dallas Mavericks will be, drum roll, 43-38. They're going to finish third. They will make the playoffs.
44-38.
That's not bad.
44-38, excuse me. Yeah, not terrible. Not terrible.
It's not bad.
Then you got the Kansas City Kings, soon to be the Sacramento Kings, but not quite. 31-51.
Kansas City.
That ass is border, basically white dog shit. And their first coach went 1 for 8 to the start of the fucking season.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who else do we got here? Seattle Supersonics. I know, you're thinking legends Gary Payton, Sean Kemp. Not quite. 31-51. Don't make the playoffs. Lenny Wilkins, their coach. White dog shit. Let's see. Who else do they got in this fucking list here? Then you got, the LA Clippers from the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm 31-51. Every single team is 31-51. This is the basement of the NBA. The last team being the Cavs.
Yeah.
Which finished 36-46.
Quick question. What were those teams the previous year, though? Because doesn't that matter a little bit? Like,
no. Not
you don't think so? Going into the season, if those teams were playoff teams, and you have your first, 8-0 against teams that were playoff teams, that might matter. I don't know if this happened or not, but I'm just saying, like, that could change it a little bit.
Are true. And these teams were mostly trash. Mostly trash, outside of Dallas, who happened to make the playoffs.
I feel
these teams were doo-doo.
Think about this,
back to the last, just to appease you. To appease you, I'll go back. Because I don't need to question it with the Clippers and the fucking Cavs. I know for sure that they suck. Supersonics were slightly better, but not great.
Yeah.
Kings sucked.
Dallas was still the same.
Let's see. Dallas was exactly the same spot.
Yeah. Kings are pretty much the same too.
No, they're all still ass soup.
But think about this, Russ. How about to show a little bit of defense here?
Okay.
8-0. That's literally a fourth of the wins that they had, or more than a fourth of the wins that they had the previous year.
Right. For Houston,
that matters a lot. Yep.
Yeah.
Like when you've had like literally 2 straight years of pure dog shit failure, and you start off the season 8-0, that makes you feel like, all right, we got some saviors here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And in the first game, like I said, Hakeem comes out and he doesn't look like the guy who hasn't been practicing. He looks like, oh, this guy might be all right. 24 points, 9 rebounds, a block, shooting 60-something%. Yeah, 61% shooting for Hakeem. And they're going to win by 10 against the Dallas Mavericks. And then they're going to really fuck them up in the next game by 22. Even though Hakeem's not going to play as well, it doesn't matter because I believe Ralph has a big game, but I can't remember. I got to make sure.
Yeah, Ralph, 18-7. Oh, not even. It was a good team effort.
No, just an all-around team effort. Yeah. So the team's starting to gel. The team's starting to gel. It looks like they're really proving a lot of doubters wrong, right?
Yep.
Just after the first game, Hakeem's going to say, I felt comfortable. I like it, Olajuwon said after the Rockets' 121-111 victory over the Dallas Mavericks. Sampson, the Rockets center last season, was moved to power forward to accommodate Olajuwon. He said that he was also very pleased with the way they had worked together. I told Hakeem, the ball's coming to him, and you'll do your thing, Sampson said. I told him, I'll be on the other side if you miss. We're looking forward to this year. So Sampson doing the right thing from a teammate standpoint. Like, really trying to be... It makes sense.
He has an extra year, right? He's a little bit more seasoned. You want to get Hakeem involved, quickly, so you're giving him the ball first. And then Sampson could just work around them. He probably doesn't have the post game Hakeem has, stuff like that. So it makes sense to kind of approach it that way. That, along with the media, the writers or whatever, I guess it's the media, completely doubting both of them, right? And really the team too. Like the coaches came at them hard, and I think that actually worked. Like unlike the pussies that are in this league now that would cry about it. These two said, you know what, I'm going to prove my coaches wrong, and I'm actually going to work hard and win. And, they started off on a strong note.
Very strong note. He's playing pretty well to start the year, but his first game where he's getting some spotlight is this game here. Even though he only puts up 15 and 10, and only shoots 43% against the Knicks in MSG, it felt like, at least based on the quotes, that the Twin Towers had dominated this game and made it overwhelming. So Olajuwon, the 7-foot rookie center, finished with 15 points and 10 rebounds. Sampson, the 7'4" second-year man who has moved to forward, had 12 points and 12 rebounds. They shot the most effectively in the first quarter when Olajuwon was 3 for 5 with 7 points and Sampson was 4 for 5 with 8 points. And that contributed to the Rockets' 61% shooting performance and a 62-42 halftime lead. So 20-point lead at halftime in 1980s is, you are busting their ass.
Yeah.
You are killing the other team.
And they also have 14 blocks in the game too, which is like changing their complete identity.
The Rockets had 14 blocks, and Sampson and Olajuwon had 4 each. Just absurd.
And what's interesting about this team is the coach coached under Red Auerbach, right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right.
No, you got it. You got it.
And it's funny because he definitely had a much more defensive approach to the game,
right?
Versus offensive, right? That's part of the reason they didn't really pick Jordan, even though Jordan was obviously a defensive player as well.
Yeah, but the 80s, nobody looked at Jordan like that for some weird reason. It just looked at him as, you can just score the ball, OD.
Yeah, and I mean, it was so inside out.
Yeah,
really,
true.
Like, right. So that's probably why they, that you really focus on the centers as your main defensive anchors. So they looked at it, if you have 2 lockdown defenders at centers, it'll be almost impossible for you to score, right?
Right.
But even with that, which was very interesting, they explained like the days of Jerry West, and I can't remember the other guard that they said.
Oscar Robertson.
Oscar Robertson dominating the league is out now. Like, you want 10 Bill Russells or something like that, which obviously most people, who wouldn't want 10 Bill Russells winning you 11 championships? But it's weird because it's like, when was it like that kind of league, like a guard-centric league? It was never that.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I knew
I'm
it.
like,
I was thinking the same thing.
Are we drunk right now? Like
no, it's just, but this is yet another reason why I'm glad that nobody throws out these old news articles and shit. And like, we can always look at them on the fucking internet, because
it's crazy.
I wouldn't have thought that people thought that.
Yeah. Like,
wouldn't have thought
and
that.
That's context right there, right? That's like literally like they're speaking their minds, right? And that's like, this is what people thought at that time. Like,
100%.
Even if it's just coming from one person, like, this guy's writing it for a reason. Like, he must be, he must be someone in the writing, as an author or whatever. So it's crazy to me. Like, to think that anyone, like, I know Jerry West, I mean, I guess there were some guards then, but it still like was so center dominant though.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
and the bigs controlled where the championships went.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Almost
you
every
just
time.
still centers won championships for like 13 years straight. Like, it was literally Bill Russell,
with very few exceptions.
Yeah. I mean, I get
Bill, Wilt, Kareem.
It also goes back to they probably didn't really feel like Bill Russell was the reason those championships were won, which is crazy. But and that might also have to do with racism. But
penis sucking of the highest order.
That might be part of it. But even so, you got Wilt, who definitely was the reason that they won championships, and then you jump right into Kareem, who wins the championship, and then like you have the weird ass 70s. And then you go into the 80s, and it's just centers there too. Like, besides, obviously, you get Magic and Bird, but still.
No, but Magic had Kareem, right? Even Bird.
Parish. Parish was one of the most dominant centers in that time.
Yeah, McHale's there now, but he's still kind of young. But I get what you're saying.
The bigs mattered still, for sure.
Yeah, and even further to that point, and to your point about defense, Hubie Brown, Lindsay's favorite commentator of 2023, Hubie Brown, who's currently the coach.
You make me sound like the worst ageist in the world, but like he needs to retire.
Hey, well, listen, he's perfectly of the appropriate age in 1984, and he says, "I think what you have here are two players who have changed the complexion of the game because of their awesome defensive talents. Forget other facets of the game. They have the ability to change the shot in the lane. You saw that when we were up by 1 and we missed 4 shots in the lane. Forget about points. Appreciate the great shot blocking and intimidation. They were 17 for 19 on the fast break," Brown added. "The reason for that is the ability of Sampson and Olajuwon to kick it out deep, so you have the ability for the third guy to leave. Now you're like in a 2-on-1 situation all the time." That's how they're going to bust ass this year. That's their formula for winning. Hubie Brown just broke it down. They're going to use Sampson and Olajuwon, and they're going to use the fact that their guards are not nearly as talented as their bigs, and push them for the break and just say, get out and run. We got the boards, get the fuck out and run. And as we know, this 80s time is high pace. Like, it's a lot of running. It's a lot of
you would think that this team wouldn't be great in a fast-paced environment, though.
Yeah, what is their pace? It's a good question. Their team pace, I think it's top 10, but not positive. It's 102, which is 11th. So
that's not bad.
Right?
I mean, right in the middle.
No, it's not bad. Yeah, it's right in the middle, especially out of 23. It's right in the middle. So they're moving, and that's got to be their game plan to win these games, is to use their bigs to trigger fast break.
What's interesting to me, during his college, right, he didn't have that many 20-point games. I mean, it's also obviously a different game in college, but like he never seemed to be like that offensive threat, really, right? He was more of the defensive guy that started building his offense up, and then he got, throughout the season, he definitely hit 20 plus many times, So it's interesting to see that,
and he's getting it as essentially a rim runner on steroids. Like, he's not Like he's got a couple of jump hooks.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a very rudimentary post game, but it's not the Hakeem we're going to see in a few years. Yeah. It's not the that guy. He is getting it off work. He is out hustling people. That is the only way for him to really succeed in the league. And I just find it interesting, the fluctuation of minutes. It's something I noticed with Shaq. Like when Shaq really started taking over the league, his minutes went up. And Hakeem, throughout this whole season, his minutes are going to be from 30 to over 40.
Yeah, look at his fouls.
And you're right.
And that's
right.
So
this is his
part of his issue is he loves blocking the ball, right? And that's his main thing is his defense. So you have like the ups and the downs with him, right? The ups is you get those 6 block games, which is amazing, but then you also get 5 fouls in the same game, right? So it's
100% true.
Yep,
100% true. It's a great point. When you constantly find yourself in foul trouble, it's really hard to get as consistent minutes. But when he plays over 40 minutes a game, he's doing serious work. Like 20 and 10, no question about it. Basically, every time he's actually able to play 40 minutes.
Yep. And you also see that his blocks are up too. And that's probably because whenever I feel like you will probably see it more as he faces more centers who are more seasoned, right? So you're going to have guys that are going to school him a little more.
Right.
Kind of play towards his weaknesses, which is wanting to block the ball. So his strength is also his weakness, right? That's why Robert Parish was able to take advantage of him in the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of these centers probably do that same thing.
Chump falling for the pump. It's one of my favorite old school things that people said. Chump fall for the pump. But no, Hakeem's first 30 and 40 point games come back to back, right?
Yeah.
In December, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't have the stat. I'll try to find it. I'm not going to try super hard because I feel like it's going to be one of those things that's going to be very difficult to find. But I wonder how many times that's actually happened, where a guy's first 30-point game and 40-point game happened in back-to-back games. I feel like that's probably
that is probably like a very unusual stat.
Super uncommon. Yeah. But then look, 46 minutes, 45 minutes. Both losses, unfortunately, but high minutes for Hakeem means he's going to get way more production. It's kind of what we were discussing.
That line is so insane, though. 30, 19, what is that, 4 blocks, 5 blocks?
4 blocks, 5.
And then 42, turnovers. 13, and 5 blocks. That's insane.
Yep. And this is going to become the standard once he really gets going, which is outrageous.
Yeah.
Outrageous.
Like, I mean, sure, there's more shots in the paint, but still, like, that's... You don't see, like, can we check, like, the blocks per game this season, the leaders, whenever we have some time?
For this year?
Like, you could see that he's having 7, 8, 6 block games. Like, that can't be normal. Like, I know that there's not centers doing that. Because we just went through a whole Shaq legacy breakdown, and we ain't see Shaq do that. Like, sure, it wasn't in the 80s, but still, in the 90s, it was just as bad in the paint. Like, there's still,
I'm curious, too. Because
I feel like
I can't remember exactly what his blocks per game is.
It has to be like
if not leading the league, he's probably top.
He's like
something.
top 5. Yeah. Oh, this is the record year.
Yep. Markey in.
Wow, he's not averaging 3 blocks.
I don't think so, but he's still third in the league.
Yeah, just about 3 blocks though. 2.7. So he has highs and lows.
2.7.
And I think that's. Yeah, and when you also take it to factor in, obviously, his youth messing with him pretty much, like, he's constantly going for pump fakes, he's getting a lot of fouls. Like, he's also averaging 4 fouls a game, right?
Yeah,
like,
I wonder where that ranks.
Yeah, that's probably up there. Highest in the league, makes sense. Like,
wow.
So that makes sense. Like, but that's part of, like, getting seasoned, right? Throughout his career,
100%.
I'm sure that the fouls go down and those blocks go up. And that's why he leads the freaking NBA in NBA history and blocks, like, throughout his career.
That will be his maturity. That is his ability to
definitely defensively, and obviously you see the huge change offensively as well. That's crazy. This is like I feel like if you compare a rookie to what they become in their prime and see the difference, this might be the biggest jump in a player all around.
It's up there. Giannis for me is number one at this moment in time.
Yeah,
right this second.
See that. Yep.
Giannis is number one for me in that specific statement where it's you come in the league as something and you are in your prime as something very different.
Yeah,
and I think Hakeem is definitely in that conversation as well.
I'm thinking, that makes 100%. Hakeem is up there though. He's definitely. I would say it's him and Giannis. Like when you really look at it, like before, like I don't know, man. I've never seen like because you know, like people would say, like even though I always got to mention him, but like Kobe, he didn't really get to play in his like the same way as these guys are in their rookie year, right? So I'm not counting someone like that. I'm thinking like someone straight up, like you get your chance, you look at the raw skill, and then you compare it to like what they become. Is like that's a huge jump. And my thing with Giannis though is that skill offensively. I don't know how much like it jumps. Like think about Hakeem's skill. Like from like it's just a huge. And we haven't seen Giannis's true apex yet. Like obviously we've seen Hakeem. So
by late January, Houston's record is going to be 23-18 at the halfway point of the season, marking the second best start in the history of the franchise, which is absurd. It's going to be right here. Hakeem's going to have a massive game: 34 points, 20 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. No blocks somehow, but 13 of 23 from the field, 8 of 12 from the free throw line, and smashed Utah by 25. More on Utah later.
Yeah.
But 23-18 to get to the halfway point of the season, and that's their second best start ever as a franchise for Houston. Crazy. So they're really...
They had prime Moses, so it's not like you didn't have some, like, prime Moses. This is crazy.
Winning MVPs.
And going into the All-Star thing, how often do you see two of the newest rookies in the All-Star game? That doesn't happen that often.
Facts.
You had Jordan and Hakeem, top 3 picks.
Yep.
And they both like pretty much said, we're NBA, we're more than NBA worthy. We're All-Stars already. That's insane.
Yeah, I wonder what's he putting up before the break. What is Hakeem's official averages before the break? So
21 and 12.
At the All-Star break, 21 and 12, 2.3 blocks, 54% shooting for Hakeem. Not bad.
Still averaging 4 fouls a game. That's crazy. This thing is like, I'm consistently hacking motherfuckers.
You know what you're gonna get from this guy. You're gonna get a guy. You gotta get a good night's sleep before you play Hakeem, because either he's just gonna be all over you. Like talk about crackheads. He's gonna have crackhead energy for the whole game when he's out there, and it's either gonna for better or worse.
Yeah,
for better or worse. Yeah. It's hilarious. They get to the All-Star game. Ralph Sampson is going to win the All-Star game MVP. And I think this is a good time to talk about Ralph Sampson, because he is a man who is absolutely forgotten about in the annals of history.
Oh, come on.
And the annals of NBA history.
It's annals.
You're in annals. So this guy would absolutely be relevant and a great player in today's game. Yeah. He was getting rebounds and bringing the ball up court at 7'4", and it didn't look that weird. It looked better than I've seen like Shaquille O'Neal doing it. It looked pretty good. And
like rookie Shaq?
Yeah, like bringing the ball up court like that. And you know how when you see giant guys who are 7 feet tall, the rule is you got to check their feet and you got to check and see how they run. The man runs like a straight up gazelle. And like before this injury, it was Sampson is a guard in a 7'4" body. That was the quote about Ralph Sampson, which is insane. It's an insane quote.
You think Wemby could be the next Ralph Sampson?
Dude, so it's funny because I was just listening to Bill Simmons today on YouTube, I'll have this clip.
Bill
Because
Simmons. This is like
yeah, because Bill Simmons. No, because it's completely relevant and it helps me put context in for Ralph Sampson because clearly neither you or me had ever seen him play personally, and he did. He was comparing Sampson and Wemby for like just their hype coming into the league and what they look like in terms of transcendent player.
Sampson was the other one, and Sampson as a high school player and a freshman had the same kind of buzz that I think we're going to get from Wembanyama. There was a big Sports Illustrated cover where it was like, "Hi, I'm Ralph Sampson. I'm a high school player," whatever. I can't remember it, but it was like this iconic high school cover, SI cover. And he goes to Virginia. He's immediately good. And Sampson stays all 4 years in college. And it's a huge mistake because he only plays a couple really, really good years for the Rockets. They make the finals in 86. He gets hurt. But he's got to be in the conversation. Then there's best power forward prospect I've ever seen. Durant was the best shooter prospect I've ever seen. Ewing was the best center prospect I've ever seen. And LeBron was the best, what the hell is this, swingman prospect I've seen. And I want to throw in Sampson there as well, because Sampson seemed like an evolutionary Kareem when it was happening, especially those early Virginia years where it was like he actually wanted to be on the perimeter. He wanted to be like, run the offense from 25 feet away. He wanted to shoot jump shots, and he took a lot of shit for it. He would make way more sense with the way basketball is played now. But really, that's the five.
Sampson's going to have 24 points and 10 rebounds and was the All-Star Game MVP. The lineup they could have had in the West for that year. Pat Riley was threatening to put out, they called it the Star Wars lineup. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Ralph Sampson, and Hakeem Olajuwon with Magic Johnson and Larry Nance. Magic Johnson would be the shortest player there at 6'9".
That's insane.
Oh man, that would have been crazy. I would take that, even though they'd shoot 0 threes ever. I would take that matchup to do some damage.
If we go to the All-Star, if we go to that All-Star game in the last 5, they probably shot 10 threes combined, and all of them were Larry Bird. Like,
all of them. Fucking, that's hilarious. Pat Riley was asked after the game because he's the coach of the West. Somebody asked Riley after the game how he thought his Lakers would do against the Celtics or 76ers in the finals of the playoffs. Having just coached the West lineup, Riley was not counting on anything. Quote, "There are a couple of people named Olajuwon and Sampson in Houston who might have something to say about that." Riley cautioned.
That's super.
So we've gone from, in fucking 6 months, we've gone from, I don't know, this team looks shaky, it looks like this isn't going to work, to Pat Riley saying, I don't know if we can beat these fuckers in the playoffs. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's a crazy turnaround.
And mind you, to put it in perspective, Pat, the Lakers had won at least 2 to 3 championships at this point.
Yep.
I think it's 3. I want to say it's 3 at this point.
You're something like that. Something like that.
Something
I'll have it on your screen.
So that's crazy.
We'll get it right.
That's insane.
We'll get it right. Especially because for a long time, it was like they were the team in the West. Like,
yeah. And it's a foreshadowment too.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Because
big time.
Just a couple years later, they really see that. So
a couple of years, next fucking year.
Oh yeah, that's a fact. I'm thinking 88 for whatever reason. You're right. No, 100%. You're right. Yeah.
But
it's insane.
I couldn't help myself. It's Valentine's Day, 1985. Houston in the Garden. I thought the first game that Houston played the Knicks, that was in Houston. This is Hakeem's first time in the Garden.
Yeah.
And my oh my, 30 points, 25 rebounds, which is tied for his career high.
Wow, his rookie year. That's crazy.
3 steals and 3 blocks. 15 offensive rebounds for Hakeem. Smashed 44 minutes. Beat the shit out of the Knicks.
Yeah.
Brings me some joy. It is clear that Olajuwon, the 7-foot rookie for the Houston Rockets, has learned his lessons from Moses Malone well. So well, in fact, that in many respects his game is beginning to resemble Moses Malone's strong, quick, and unyielding game, which is crazy.
And you definitely just pointed out those offensive rebounds, right?
So here we go. So last night he collected 25 rebounds, including a startling 15 on offense, and scored a team high 30 points to lead the Rockets to a victory over the Knicks at the Garden. His rebounding total was the most of any player in the league this season, surpassing Moses Malone's total of 24 on January 30th. And his 15 offensive rebounds were more than the entire Knicks team. Crazy.
And it makes sense. Like, it's funny that I'm sure the person writing that probably, maybe they might have known that Moses and Hakeem, work out together.
But, yeah, that's how this started. That's how they opened this article. Was talking about that for sure.
But you could definitely, like, even with that though, I'm 100% sure, like, he's taking stuff from Moses. Moses has been dominating the league. He's been one of the top centers, or arguably the top center, for a couple years, right? So
yeah,
I mean, it makes sense to try to pick his brain and pull a lot of stuff from him.
He really is one of the most underrated players of all time.
Like that, I agree with. Like, most people don't talk about Moses.
Nobody talks about him.
Like, people think about Karl Malone way more. Obviously, it was because of when he was playing and stuff like that. But by far, like, Moses is definitely like the best Malone.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close. Right? Like,
he played 20 seasons. He played 20 seasons, and he's got like 4,000 offensive rebounds more than the guy in second. He's the greatest offensive rebounder to ever live. He's a multiple-time MVP. He got Dr. J a championship. I don't know. Nobody talks about him because his game wasn't super flashy. But that's what Hakeem Olajuwon's game is right now. Very similar to Moses.
Yeah. Because I think, didn't he, I thought he won in Philly and then won in Houston.
I know he won MVPs in Houston. I don't think he won any chips there. I don't think they had a championship.
Won in 82?
No.
Maybe?
Philly won in 82. Philly won in 82.
I remember seeing like back-to-back chips. I don't know why.
I'll get it right now, but I greatly, I feel like I would have known that.
Because I remember,
and I feel like that would have helped his case.
I know this is weird as hell. This is like weird as hell, and you could even clip this or some shit. But I was trying to go to bed one day, and I was saying NBA championships in my head from 2023 to 1980, right?
This is how you know
it was like
that
counting
we're both
sheep.
Pieces of shit, because I do the same shit.
And it was like counting sheep, right? And I was like so stuck. Yeah, I was so stuck on the last couple, the last few in the bottom of the 80s, because I'm like, I always get confused with Boston, Philly, and I remember I was off because Houston won a chip, and I was like, I don't even remember Houston winning a fucking chip, and that's what made me remember.
They won the two finals there, 95 and 96. Scroll down, keep going. So the 80s, here we go. Yeah, so they lost the finals. They went to a finals, and they went to a finals here, but they lost it.
Yeah, so my bad. Boston beat them in the finals, right?
Yes. Both times.
Okay, so that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
We got Lakers, Boston, Lakers, Philly, Boston. Okay.
Yeah.
Lakers. All right, I'm tweaking. I thought, all right, so Houston. All right. My bad. So he went to a finals. So he went to a finals, and then he got traded, and then won a chip.
Yep.
That's what happened. Okay, so he only won one chip, but still, that's crazy.
Moses Malone plays close to the basket, and his rebounds are based on muscle, Fitch said, who's the coach of the Rockets. Hakeem uses cat-like quickness. He goes across the lane about as fast as any player in the game today. More quotes from Hubie Brown. He just nailed this guy for me. He was such a destructive force, said Hubie Brown, the Knicks coach, whose team lost its third straight and fell to 18 and 35. Kind of foreshadowing their pick of Patrick Ewing next year. But
you think they tanked on purpose?
Maybe.
All right, let's keep on.
Every time he got the ball, talking about Olajuwon, he either got fouled or he put it back in. He was clearly the main ingredient. Let's see.
All right.
You're killing me.
He took it out and put it back in. Man, you gotta chill.
Only 1 year ago, Ralph Sampson was the 7'4" rookie center of the Rockets, and there was talk he would be the game's next great big man. But Sampson is now a power forward, and although he has shown flashes of brilliance, he hit 10 of his 17 shots for 22 points and grabbed 12 rebounds tonight. He is sometimes overshadowed by the new center. I don't really mind it, Ralph Sampson said. He has his nights, and I have mine. As long as we're winning, there's enough to share. Man, fuck. Every quote I get from Ralph is just like overwhelmingly positive, and it's not the era where, we're taught like, oh, he has to talk like that. Like, he's genuinely just a solid teammate, and he's great. And it's like, fuck.
It's also because, like, he's averaging like 22, 23 points, 13 rebounds, like, or whatever. Like,
dominating himself.
He's dominating himself. So, and he's literally leading the team in points, rebounds. So it's not like, that's part of it. It's like, I'm still doing what I got to do. Check the stat sheet. That's probably what he's doing.
It's so crazy. Last quote from this game. Bill Fitch would go on to say, let's hold another draft in New York tomorrow and see who's first. Fitch said of Olajuwon's performance, I love Michael Jordan, but if I were his mother, the best I could do is split the ballot for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. And that goes back to what
it is like this. It is like this.
And that what actually does he finish in for Rookie of the Year?
So
that's
second.
where I go. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, obviously he's second.
They're the only two guys
that would be like
that
crazy.
get votes.
Yeah,
they're the only two guys that get votes.
So that's where, like, going into the season, and obviously the media votes in this era, right? This is still right. So going into the season, him not wanting to practice, him going in with the media on him, with his coaches on him, that's where I feel like things get pulled back a little bit, right? Like, you go in loving Michael Jordan, right? He was in the Olympics. He's dominant. He's done really well in college. He starts dominating the NBA in a way that we've never seen, or arguably, maybe Dominic Wilkins is the only other guy that's looked like that. So it's a completely different, unique style. And then he's such a dedicated hard worker. And then you have this other guy who's actually winning. His team literally won 20 more games than the other guy, right? And it's because of him, 100%, no doubt about it. Because the center who moved to power forward got moved because this guy is so good, and also that guy's putting up the same exact stat line that he did last year, except they're winning 20 more. They're winning 20 more games, and it's because of this center that's here right now.
Right,
but it's really still the narrative, right? Like, the narrative still matters. And if you go into the season saying, I don't want to play, I'm going to ride around in my Ferrari, no one's going to want to fucking pick you for a Rookie of the Year. Like, it's like, all right, that's cool, but this guy it was cool to watch, and he's just as good as you, and we love him more. So that's where I feel like that really does pull away for
and Jordans are fire. We love the shoes. It's got to be the shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking.
So it looks like both LeBron and Jordan got these Rookie of the Years, and they probably shouldn't have. I'm just saying.
Here's my no. I actually have a good question about this, because I'm really curious. So, do you think, because when we did Shaq's hypotheticals that we just got out of, we did a lot of, man, Shaq can't really win MVP because he's got this guy with him that's doing equal damage. You know what I mean? And is contributing to that sense. Do you think that factored in to the decision for Rookie of the Year here? Because Olajuwon absolutely had more help than Jordan. 100%. That Bulls team is doo-doo. Doo-doo city. Horrible.
Yeah.
Orlando Woolridge is the only fucking relevant guy. I was thinking about that. I was like, as you were talking, I was like, I'm wondering if that factored into people's voting. Is that
so you
Jordan
say that, Russ, right? And that Bulls team was so much more trash to you, but that team still was better than this Houston team that played. And mind you, the Bulls play in the East, which was a dominant, the dominant
way harder division
in the 80s.
Way harder,
way harder division, and they still got the third pick instead of Houston, who played in a shittier conference. and they got the very first pick, right? So even with that, it doesn't. I think
Rockets won 10 more games than the Bulls this year.
Yeah, they were. So yeah, Rockets won 10 more games. Sure, the Bulls are in a harder division, so we give them that. So let's say it give the Bulls a little bit of leeway there, right? But it's still you got Hakeem who's playing. You would argue lesser on the offensive side than Jordan, but probably better in the defensive side. Maybe you might be able to argue both, right? And then you got that he completely flipped this. Like this team is a playoff team and is what fourth, fourth in the West. Like literally going.
I'll get the exact thing when we look at the stats
if you click the wins, what does it say?
Well, I'm going to click to the. I'm going to go to the playoffs so I get the exact ranking. And sometimes
so that works.
I'll get it and it'll be.
And remember, going into this season, they wanted and they expected to be a top 4 to 6 team.
Right.
And they end up being what?
I think
the third seed. So they beat their expectations.
Definitely.
And you telling me, I don't know, man. I feel like Hakeem might have got robbed here.
I feel like I understand. That's fair. It's very fair. It's very fair to feel that way. And it goes back to everything. Like it goes back to the differences between them too. Jordan obviously much more polished, right? Yeah.
And Jordan's the clear best player on his team too. That matters. And people might argue that Hakeem isn't, right? So that's part of the argument.
That's what I was trying to say before.
Yeah, and then that does matter, but to me, it's like you still got to do rookie versus rookie, and you got to do impact on the team, in my opinion. Like. That matters tremendously. This center was the focal point of the change in this 100%. Organization, just like this shooting guard was the focal point in the change of this organization. The only difference is these guys won 20 more games from one year to the next. They went from 29 wins. 19 more games. So 29 wins to 48 and being third in the West when they were last in the West the previous year. Sure, the West is weaker, but still, like I think that should hold a lot of weight.
I agree with you. I really do, and I definitely feel like.
And I'm also a Jordan hater, so fuck that dude, man. You know how we do, man.
But speaking of being the catalyst of things, this playoff matchup is really interesting, right? Rockets are the higher seed. But it doesn't feel like they're the favorites necessarily. Like it feels like the media is looking at this as kind of a even or closer to even matchup, probably due to the Rockets' inexperience.
100%.
This Jazz team does have Adrian Dantley, who got traded from the Pistons, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but he either just left the Pistons or is going there. One or the other. Let me make sure. He's known for being a tiny guard with a big fucking post game.
Yeah.
Oh no, he hasn't gotten to Detroit yet. So he's heading to Detroit after this year. Yet. Yep. He would absolutely be terrible in 2023. I can't stress this enough. You can't be fucking 6'4" and post guys up in today's game and that be your fucking skills. Not going to work. Not going to work as a choice. Anywho, he's good.
Yeah.
But they also have Mark Eaton on the team who, as you can see here, with 5.8 blocks averaged for the series, he set the NBA record this year.
5.6 in the,
Yep,
crazy.
For blocks per game. Set the record. That's a fun fact for you kids whenever you're sporkling. You need an answer for most blocks. It's Marky.
And when you're trying to do these 2K records, I try to beat that record. I couldn't.
It's tough. It's hard. Without fouling people, it's very hard. So it's actually like a pretty close series. It's a 5-game series. Remember, this era is only 5 games in the first round. It annoys the fuck out of me, but it is what it is.
It goes all the way to like 01. maybe?
Yeah, a while. Something like that. Pretty.
I think so.
Relatively.
Something like that. 01, 02, maybe.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. But this goes all 5 games. They split the first 4. Jazz win the first one, Rockets win the second one, Jazz win the third one, Rockets win the fourth.
Yeah.
Hakeem and Sampson are playing okay. Hakeem's really playing pretty well. Sampson is doing all right on the rebounding end, but from a shooting efficiency standpoint, his efficiency has dropped off dramatically. He went from shooting Hakeem, 52%. Right? No, Ralph Sampson specifically is who I'm talking about. But
really?
If I go to the stats here, yeah.
Hakeem, I was thinking Hakeem I'm sure dropped significantly. He's shooting, or maybe maybe I was looking at free throws.
So he's shooting 47%. He is shooting 47%, which is not what he was doing in the regular season.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see.
It's damn sure not Sampson who's shooting 43, still getting you 21 points a game somehow. So he's just chucking. Chucking. Yeah. Absolutely Carmelo Anthony status level of chucking. And it's crazy that this goes 5 games, and they were winning. They were winning game 5. Winning game 5. So I need you to do some math for me when I go to this game 5 box score. I need you to tell me what. Yes, it is. I need you to tell me what the score was after 3 quarters here.
Wow,
I'm pretty sure they're up.
They were 100%.
Rockets were up, right?
It was 76 to 67. So they were up 11 points.
And they're going to flip that in the 4th quarter because Mark Eaton's going to get hurt, and his backup is Billy Paultz, right?
All right. It sounds like a plumber, but whatever.
Very much so.
Taking out
very much so. My local plumber.
Yeah, Billy Paultz taking out them bolts.
So the Jazz trail the Houston Rockets late in the 5th and deciding game of the first round of the playoffs. Jazz coach Frank Layden has pulled his starters in hopes that the bench can somehow spark the team and inch back into the game. Billy Paultz has been given the unenviable task of guarding Hakeem Olajuwon. The next few minutes drag on for Olajuwon as the aging veteran Paultz continues to frustrate and annoy the Houston center. Every shot is contested and every foul is a hard one. All rebounds seem to go in the Jazz's direction. Finally, something pushes Hakeem too far and he snaps. Now, the quote from Hakeem is, Billy wasn't part of their offense. All he was out there to do was to get in my way, Olajuwon wrote. And he did. It was very irritating. He shadowed me, hung real close, and wouldn't give me any room to move. When I tried to get some space, he would flop and fall back like I'd hit him with a brick. And the referee would call a foul on me. I don't like flopping. It's not real basketball, he said. For some reason, that night, the referees were letting him get away with it. He would flop, I'd get a foul. Flop, foul. They called me where he hit the ground and I hadn't even touched him. He was a pest. I couldn't even shrug him off because once I moved so much as an elbow, Paultz would go crashing to the floor and the referee would whistle me again.
What?
I said, so Patrick Beverly level of irritation is what we're getting at here.
And flopping too 40 years ago? That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. So Hakeem said, this is the key here. I said, well, if you're going to flop, I might as well hit you for real. Ralph Sampson got a rebound, and as soon as Paultz came to cover me and flop, I hit him. And he wallops him in the face. It'll be on your screen. He hit the shit out of him. He hit the dog shit out of his face. I punched him right in the mouth out of nowhere. They're just standing there, and you just see Hakeem's giant arm whack him across the face. Oh my God. So savage. So savage. Now, it's crazy that it doesn't get talked about because that one play, despite the refs not even fucking seeing it, not only did they not see it, but he didn't even get a foul called on him for that.
That's amazing.
All these flops, he gets a foul. But he gets no foul called for that. And the Rockets deflate like a balloon, according to Pulse. They deflate like a balloon, and the Jazz come back and win in the fourth quarter 37-21. And the Rockets get screwed out of going to the next round.
That's crazy.
Man. My
God.
God.
Is hilarious.
If I could encapsulate this rookie season in a phrase, it would be classic rookie mistakes. Like, so many of these Hakeem Olajuwon moments are classic rookie mistakes. Yeah. He's driving around in his Benz. He's fucking fouling everybody constantly, trying to get these blocks. He's hitting motherfuckers in the face because he gets annoyed by them. Like, these are all rookie moves from a guy who is just like, it's, to your point, man, it's amazing what we're going to see as early as next fucking season.
Yeah.
Like,
it is insane.
The rate of improvement from this guy is astounding.
Yeah.
It is. It's astounding. And what he's going to pick up. But yeah, Jazz go on to the second round. Billy Pulse is the hero for Utah, obviously, for the next several years.
Man, why is Hakeem not interviewed more? Like, why does he have like a documentary? Like, I don't understand. Like, I feel like he literally should have. That's crazy. Well, no one reads, Russell. Have you not understood? Since the beginning of this episode, we talked about people don't read. No one want to read a book about Hakeem. They want to see him in action, man.
Mm-hmm.
They need to make a book about. I mean, I said a book. They need to make a freaking documentary about this dude, man. It's crazy.
Oh my God! And his quotes are great. His quotes are entertaining too. Yeah. The shit that he says. But that is how Hakeem's rookie season is going to end. Fascinating so far. I have never dug in. This is of all the things I was looking forward to. Not specifically his rookie season, but this '80s era is like the lost time for Hakeem Olajuwon. No one talks about it because of what he's going to do in the '90s. But the guy, this is so fascinating. This shit is fascinating. I didn't know that he decked some guy and it cost him the fucking playoff round.
There's so much shit, like and this is the greatest part about like going through these. Like, we just you learn so much shit like from these guys, and this is why y'all should like, comment, subscribe. Because y'all ain't getting this on YouTube. How many people talking about 84-85 season and let alone Hakeem Olajuwon at this point? This many.
Yeah, comment. Exactly. Let us know what you think is the most interesting part of this season. Because I would like to know. Because we all have our opinions, but I want to know what you guys think.
Yeah. Mine is Hakeem getting screwed for not winning Rookie of the Year. That's not my favorite, but that's my least favorite, and I feel like people should know that.
It's crazy. But Hakeem's going to get some redemption, and he's going to find success well before Michael Jordan. Because we're going to go right into the next season and the first finals run for the legend, Hakeem Olajuwon. Hey guys, if you like what you heard, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Just type in Apex Greatness on YouTube to see everything we put out this year. From legacy breakdowns to current NBA and NFL content. We have over 150 videos to binge if you're that type of person, or just to listen to in your spare time. We have about 2 to 5 hours of new content every week. Check us out. Later.